He only went into the woods that night to collect firewood for his little daughter. He never expected to hear muffled screams, desperate, raw, and fading beneath the soil. When he dug with his bare hands, his heart racing against the clock, he had no idea that the woman buried alive was a millionaire, and that her whispered words would change both of their lives forever. The town of Maple Hollow was small, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, or thought they did. For Daniel Cole, life had narrowed down to one purpose: raising his 6-year-old daughter, Emma. He wasn't a man of wealth or influence. He was a construction worker, sometimes a carpenter, sometimes a handyman, whatever put food on the table. Since his wife's passing 2 years ago, he carried the quiet weight of both father and mother on his shoulders. That evening, the autumn wind was sharp, and Daniel walked deeper into the forest behind their old cabin. Emma was sick with the flu, curled up in bed with flushed cheeks, and he wanted to keep the fireplace alive through the night. The world had taken so much from him already, he wasn't going to let cold steal from his little girl too. But then, a sound froze him mid-step. It wasn't an animal's cry. It wasn't the rustle of branches. It was a muffled scream, choked and strangled, followed by frantic thuds against the earth. His instincts sharpened. He dropped the bundle of wood and rushed toward the sound. The ground looked disturbed, fresh soil unevenly spread as if something, or someone, was beneath it. "Help," a faint voice gasped. Daniel's blood ran cold. He clawed at the dirt with his bare hands, ignoring the sting of rocks slicing his palms. He dug until his nails cracked, his breath short, his muscles screaming, but he didn't stop. Finally, his fingers brushed against skin, a trembling, delicate hand reaching toward him like a final prayer. With a roar of desperation, Daniel dug faster, pulling and tearing until he unearthed the form of a woman, her face pale, lips trembling, hair tangled with mud. She coughed violently, gasping air like it was the first breath of her life. Daniel lifted her from the earth, cradling her like a child, his chest heaving. "Why, you saved me," she whispered, her voice broken and raw. Daniel looked into her eyes, but he didn't know then that he wasn't just saving a stranger. He was saving a millionaire, a woman whose story would twist into his in ways he couldn't yet imagine. Her name was Isabella Hartley, and someone had tried to bury her alive. Daniel half carried, half dragged Isabella back toward his cabin. She was too weak to walk, her body trembling violently. Her expensive silk dress was torn, ruined by dirt and sweat, but even then he noticed how out of place she looked in the wilderness. Inside the cabin, the firelight flickered against rough wooden walls. Emma stirred in her sleep, unaware of the stranger her father had just rescued. Daniel wrapped Isabella in blankets, offering water, his hands shaking from both adrenaline and disbelief. "Who did this to you?" he asked, voice low, steady but burning with anger. Her lips trembled. "People I trusted, business partners. They wanted me gone, control of the company, my inheritance. I thought I was untouchable until tonight." Her voice cracked. "They buried me like I was nothing." Daniel clenched his fists. He didn't know this woman, but the thought of anyone being left to die in such cruelty ignited a fire in his chest. Isabella's eyes softened as she studied him. This man, rough hands, dirt-streaked shirt, exhaustion etched into every line of his face, had risked everything for her without hesitation. "Why did you help me?" she asked softly. Daniel blinked at her, confused by the question. "Because you were there. Because you needed me. Isn't that what anyone would do?" But Isabella knew the truth, not everyone would. Money had taught her that compassion was rare, that people acted when something was in it for them. Yet this man, a stranger, had given her the one thing her fortune couldn't buy, unconditional humanity. And then, as silence hung heavy, she leaned closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "You didn't just save me tonight, Daniel, you saved yourself too. And you don't even know it yet." He frowned, unsure of what she meant. But Isabella's eyes carried a strange mix of gratitude and certainty, as if she already saw the path ahead. That whisper lingered long after she drifted into exhausted sleep. Daniel sat awake, staring at the fire, torn between fear of what dangers might follow her and an inexplicable sense that his life, and Emma's, had just changed forever. What he didn't realize yet was that Isabella's whispered promise would draw him into a storm of danger, betrayal, and ultimately, love. Because sometimes the person you save in the dark becomes the very light you didn't know you were missing.